your body's been deprived of sugar and sodium and all these things, you drink like a can of Coke, and when your body gets all that sugar, I mean, Tom's told me he's not competitive. I think that's the biggest load of bull. Maybe that's ever said. I'm like, you might be the most competitive dude I've ever met. Everything that Hugh Jackman was doing in Wolverine, you try and figure out what that stuff is.
The role that you play alongside Tom Cruise, he was obviously nurtured Rooster and took you under his wing.
Right.
Was that relationship paralleled and reflected in your personal relationship with Tom behind the scenes, off set as well, and how he helped you?
I think it was. Tom was always available for not only myself, but for all of us. And when you have somebody who's really leading from in front and not behind, when he's getting up there in the jets every day himself, and you have that shared experience with him. I mean, the director, nobody else really knew how tough it was except for Tom. And so he was always there for me. He told me, Miles, you can call me at any time. And that's something that has maintained itself to this day, and will be moving forward.
It's rare to see such an open door policy in Hollywood.
For sure.
Isn't it? And to see someone like Tom give that much of his time
right.
to a younger cast you must have gained even more respect for him for that as well.
I mean, I did. And also sometimes you work on a film and maybe the person wants you to do well, but not too well. Tom's not worried about that whatsoever. I mean, he really just wants to make the best movie possible, and he realizes that he needs everybody to do their best for that to happen. And he's not. I mean, Tom's told me he's not competitive. I think that's the biggest load of bull. Maybe that's ever said. I'm like, you might be the most competitive dude I've ever met. But as a teammate and as a companion on a film, there's nobody else you would really want to work with.
So a leader more than a kind of instructor.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, he really loves making movies, and it's infectious.
The flight training, I mean, what was that like? Because the pressure of starring in a Hollywood blockbuster must be at a certain level already, and then you introduce the flight training that you've got to go through as well.
I know. This movie was really. I underestimated the amount of kind of training that it was going to be. I knew that we were going to be in the jets, but I really didn't understand like how intense that was going to be. And it was never, at least for me, it was never something I really felt like, super. I felt, I'd been doing it, so I had experience in it, but it was never something like I mean, it pushed me to the limit every time I went up, and it's a really intense experience, and you feel like you're going to throw up the whole time. And some people were throwing up the whole time, It's really tough.
How did you keep your composure in situations like that?
I mean, you don't really have much of an option, you know what I mean? Because if you don't get it, if you don't film it, and if you can't keep your wits about you, you're going to have to do it again. So that's how I kept my composure. I wanted to do everything I could to not have to do it again.
I know there was a bit of a rivalry. I've spoken to Danny, Jay, and Greg as well, and I know there was a bit of rivalry between them about who was the best in the flight training. Are you willing to give us a bit of an insight on that?
I have no idea. I would just. I mean, I don't know. I think Jay was always really smooth in the jet. When you would watch the footage back, I think it took me a little longer to get. To understand like the frame and what it means to really do an action sequence. It was something I'd never really done before. There's a nuance to it, and so, but definitely not Danny.
The iconic volleyball scene from the original Top Gun was, of course, recreated for Top Gun Maverick with the NFL football scene on the beach.
Right.
It's, again, an absolutely incredible scene. One thing I wanted to ask you about that is, what stands out is the incredible physical shape that yourself and the rest of the cast were in.
Right.
Can you give me some insight as to the training and diet routine that you followed to prepare for your role?
Yeah, I mean, I have a trainer that I've worked with for a while now, and he's somebody that I just really trust. And so I think and I had a nutritionist, so I got somebody tell me what to eat. I've got a trainer tell me what I need to do for workouts. He's like, and I'm going to be there with you every step of the way. So really a lot of it is just showing up. And so if you have all of these people around you to help you and you still don't do it, then you're just I don't know, you're just an idiot because you really have all these people dedicating their time to help you succeed. So it was, but I mean, you're in pretty good shape, like, you know.
I mean, I do kind of cover the fitness side of things
Yeah, so
at
there
my
you
media
go.
outlet, so I was interested in.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well then, yeah. So I got up to, I usually sit around like 185 pounds. I got up to about 210, and I think I was like 9% body fat, and then I cut down to 183, about 7% body fat for the beach scene. But yeah, you know, not a lot of beer and, and pizza and stuff.
What sort of foods were you eating on? Like, if we take like a typical day of filming.
Well, for me to gain weight, that was the toughest part, man. I would, you know, for breakfast it was like 6 eggs, and then you know you work out, and then you have a shake, and then it was 2 lunches. Each lunch would be like a chicken breast, a full potato, and some broccoli. And I would have 2 of those, and then and then there would be another snack after that. And I remember for dinner specifically, it was 20 ounces of certain fish or steak, and so you're just eating so much. That's really what I didn't enjoy. And then when I was super lean, you know, then I mean, you're trying to cut water out of your system. That's something that's very popular, and that was kind of a trick of the trade that people use. You just try and dehydrate yourself as much as possible, and then oddly enough, when you're on set that day, when your body's been deprived of sugar and sodium and all these things, you drink like a can of Coke, and when your body gets all that sugar, everything tightens up, and so you get this certain kind of vascular look that looks good on screen. But you know, all that stuff.
Tricks of the trade, yeah.
Everything that Hugh Jackman was doing in Wolverine, you try and figure out what that stuff is, because he was, you know, that was a pretty good one.
Shape. Do you think living that kind of regimented lifestyle helped you, essentially like you were in the military or like you were in the Navy, do you think it actually helped prepare you for the role and essentially was a form of method acting in a way?
Well, I like anything that requires a certain amount of discipline. I think that for me, just because then when you look back on it, you know that you did everything possible to do it. Because if you start kind of slacking off, then when you see the finished product, you know in the back of your head, there were some things you could have done better. So I just don't enjoy that feeling. So I try, and if somebody tells me to do something, then I will stick to it.
The movie's received rave reviews. I saw it being called the best action movie of the last 15, 20 years. It's got a 97% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, which
Nice.
is...
That's a fresh tomato.
That is one fresh tomato, and that's unlike anything. If you look back at some of the best films of all time, cult classics even, 85%.
Right.
It's getting 97% rating, coupled with the fact that you've worked with Tom Cruise on an installment of Top Gun. I mean, the feeling that must give you.
Well, I think the only way we accomplish that is by making something that exceeded expectations that were so incredibly high. I think when people first found out or heard that we were making a sequel to this, I think automatically people are like, oh, well, that's gonna suck. You know, you're making a sequel to some 30-something years later, and oh, it's about drones now, and oh man, you've all this stuff. And you know, Tom said that for this movie to work, we're trying to hit a bullet with a bullet, and that was the analogy that he used. And I mean, look, if you're gonna bet on one person, I would bet on Tom, because he's been doing it for a long time, and he's the man.
I mean, a sequel that a lot of critics are calling better than the original. That's unheard of. There are many great sequels that I've made,
Right.
but how many of them actually get rated higher than the original? It must be great to be involved in an operation like that.
It's a really good feeling to be a part of a movie on this scale that you still feel like there's a lot of art behind, you know, and that there's a lot of emotion behind, and it's not just, you know, I don't know, it's not a jump scare. We're not trying to just elicit like a really quick reaction from people. We wanted to make a movie that could be as beloved and revered as the first one, and I think that comes from Tom and Jerry Bruckheimer and everybody taking this audience very seriously, and not just putting, you know, Top Gun's not it's not a joke. And when that movie came out, it was a big deal. You know, even the fact they killed a character like Goose in the middle of it. That was really unheard of. So I just think it speaks to the level of craftsmanship of the people involved.
Miles, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you today,
Cool.
and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in London.
Thanks, man.
All the best.
Appreciate it.
Cheers, Miles.
You got
Thank
it.
you.